Hi, and welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm really glad you're here today. Over the last few episodes, we've been talking about self-love, about the way we speak to ourselves, and about learning to soften toward who we are instead of constantly fighting ourselves. And today, I want to talk about something that often becomes clearer once we begin healing a little: boundaries. Or more specifically, the guilt that can come with protecting your peace. Because for a lot of people, especially those who are kind, empathetic, or used to taking care of others, boundaries can feel uncomfortable. You might know you're overwhelmed. You might know you're emotionally exhausted. You might desperately need rest, space, or quiet, and still feel guilty for needing it. Maybe you've been the strong one for a long time, the reliable one, the understanding one, the person who says yes even when they're already running on empty. And at some point, you start noticing something. You're always there for everyone else, but rarely there for yourself. And that realization can hurt. Because sometimes we become so focused on keeping the peace around us that we stop protecting the peace within us. I think a lot of us learned, consciously or unconsciously, that being needed made us valuable. That if we were easygoing enough, helpful enough, available enough, people would stay. People would love us. People would choose us. So we overextend ourselves. We ignore our limits. We answer messages when we're drained. We carry emotional weight that was never ours to carry. And slowly, we become disconnected from ourselves. Not all at once, just in little ways. By saying it's fine when it isn't. By not speaking up when something hurts. By convincing ourselves that our needs are less important than everyone else's comfort. But I want you to hear this today. Protecting your peace is not selfish. Needing space does not make you cold. Saying no does not make you unkind. Resting does not make you lazy. You are a human being, not an endless emotional resource. And boundaries are not punishments. They're not walls meant to shut people out. They are acts of self-respect. A boundary is simply a way of saying, this is what I need in order to feel safe, balanced, and emotionally well. That's not selfish, that's healthy. And honestly, people who benefit from your lack of boundaries may not always understand them at first. That can be hard. Because healing sometimes means disappointing people you're used to overextending yourself for. And if you're someone who fears conflict or fears being misunderstood, that can feel deeply uncomfortable. But discomfort does not always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it means you're finally doing something different. There's a difference between being kind and abandoning yourself. You can love people deeply and still say, I can't carry this right now. You can care about someone and still need distance. You can be compassionate without sacrificing your own mental and emotional well-being. And I think that's something many of us are still learning. Especially because boundaries don't always look dramatic. Sometimes they look very quiet. Turning your phone off for an hour, taking longer to reply, choosing not to explain yourself endlessly, leaving spaces that constantly drain you, allowing yourself to rest without guilt. Small things. But small things change lives. Because every time you choose to listen to your own needs, you rebuild trust with yourself. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not becoming a completely different person, but slowly learning that you matter too. I also want to say this gently. If setting boundaries feels difficult for you, it doesn't mean you're weak. It often means you've spent a long time surviving by prioritizing other people's emotions over your own. That pattern usually comes from somewhere. Maybe from wanting to avoid conflict. Maybe from wanting to feel accepted. Maybe from growing up feeling like your needs were too much. But your needs are not too much. You are allowed to take up emotional space. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to say, I need rest. I can't do that today. I need a moment for myself. And you do not need to hate yourself for having limits. Limits are human. Before we finish today, I want to take a small pause together. Just take a slow breath in and exhale. Notice your shoulders, notice your jaw, notice how much tension you may be carrying without realizing it. Now quietly remind yourself, my peace matters too. Just that. Not louder, not bigger, just true. My peace matters too. And maybe this week, protecting your peace doesn't have to mean changing your whole life. Maybe it simply means listening to yourself a little more honestly. Resting when you're tired instead of pushing through. Saying no once without over-explaining. Taking a breath before automatically saying yes. Small acts of self-respect. Small reminders that you are worthy of care too. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And thank you for continuing to show up for yourself in these quiet, meaningful ways. In the next episode, we're going to talk about rest and why slowing down can feel so uncomfortable in a world that constantly tells us to keep going. Until then, please remember, you do not have to abandon yourself to be loved. You are allowed to protect your peace. And you are still here. Take care.